Good evening, everybody. Happy Friday. I hope you had a peaceful day and a peaceful week. And welcome to our PM version of the actual news. There were some very last minute announcements from the Trump's team. So we're going to discuss who's who. And we're going to also hear an opinion from former President Bill Clinton on the nominees, which is something interesting, which is something I was awaiting to hear from somebody, from a former president or current president. But so we're going to do review that. Then we're going to talk about Ukraine and Russia. And certainly yesterday, the biggest stress was that Russia launched this intercontinental ballistic missile at Ukraine. And then today, Ukrainian intelligence and Ukrainian authorities have revealed that those were prototypes and that Russia doesn't really have much. So we're going to review that, exact quotes, a bunch of readouts today, also, of course, videos and photos as well. So again, thank you so much for joining, and we will start right away. Okay. All right. So first, President Biden just now finished hosting a dinner. It's a semi-private dinner at the White House on South Lawn. He gathered everybody to thank the supporters mainly. So here's a snippet from the video and from his remarks, and then I featured full remarks in your newsletter. So take a look.
Jill and I are hosting this dinner tonight for a very simple reason: say thank you. Thank you to so many dear friends. We began this journey to redeem the soul of the nation and to find the light in the darkness. Jill and I never could have gotten to where the White House has become without you. And we never could have gotten as much done as we did without you. And that's not hyperbole. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. Maybe the most important thing you've done is lend your name, your reputation, your character to this effort. It's more than just saying we're for that administration. You put yourself on the line. And we'll never forget. We're incredibly grateful. One thing I've always believed about public service, and especially the presidency, is the importance of asking ourselves, have we left the country in better shape than we found it? And tonight, I can say with all my heart, the answer to that question is a resounding yes, because of you. Because of you. Kamala and I promised we'd have an administration that looks like America, that taps into the full talents of our nation. I look out at so many of you, our cabinet members, our White House staff, who poured their heart and soul into their work.
And so certainly this is the answer to all those, dare to say, trolls who are, bombarding my posts with the notion that something is being done behind the scenes, and Trump will not be inaugurated and Biden will step in and take over or something like that. There is no facts that would anywhere hint that this might be happening. So this is some type of conspiracy theory. Maybe it makes somebody feel better, but certainly if it makes you feel better and you want to discuss it with your circle of like-minded believers, do you? But please do not spam my actual news with this nonsense, because it does not exist. I don't see any proof of it. And if I will see something that is being done, I will certainly share. But the transitional period from Biden's side has kicked off long time ago, right after the election. They're sharing everything with the Trump team. He's thanking his supporters. He openly spoke to President Xi about the transition period. So I doubt that something would be done in the next 2 weeks that folks want to hope into anything. And then to President Biden, I see him as one of the most accomplished presidents, and certainly the most accomplished president of our lifetime. But it's difficult for me to agree with the sentence that, yes, you are leaving the country better than you found it, but this ends at 11:59 a.m. on January 20th. And I think until then, President Biden is responsible. And then, yes, the answer is yes. But then what happens a minute after? And that is where it's difficult for us to even appreciate what's being done, although we have to. But because we do have actual news about what to come next, it makes it difficult to join the joyful occasion, so to speak. Hello, Vivian. I'm going to miss him. Yeah, absolutely. Skyman's, hello. Hey, welcome. Yeah, same. Me too. Me too. And he is leaving the country better than he found it. The problem is that the country decided to go back, and way back, not even to 2016, or 2020, way back, 1800 something, if anything. Okay, so some interesting remarks from the press pool, that upon exiting, press pool spotted Governor Walz and Gwen Walz seated with the First Lady. VP is currently on vacation in Hawaii, so she wasn't there. And then also in attendance were Secretary Buttigieg and Maryland Governor Wes Moore. Also, some news that last Tuesday, when Biden met with Trump at the Oval Office and both chiefs of staff were present, after that, Biden's chief of staff, Jeff Zients, hosted a dinner at his home in Washington on Tuesday for past chief of staff and incoming chief of staff Susie Wiles. Tuesday's dinner was more of a social engagement planned before the election, and it included spouses. Now, if you have missed the morning version of the actual news, I spoke about Susie Wiles and her career as a lobbyist. And certainly the full readout is in your newsletter. So if you missed that, or you don't want to watch videos, you want to read it, it's in your newsletter. So join it. It's free, honest.substack.com. Get your actual news. And also everybody who's a subscriber will get the invitation to join our app once it's available, and then I transfer everything there. And if you decide to support, again, I'm very, very, very grateful for you. Okay, so now next, this morning, again, I discussed the telecom, pretty much confirming that the Chinese hackers have gotten into data, also into Verizon data, and they have stolen it. Now, right now, just about 15 minutes ago, we got a readout from National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan on his meeting with executives from telecommunications sector. So, quote, today, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and Deputy National Security Advisor for Cyber and Emerging Technology, Ann Neuberger, hosted a meeting with executives from telecommunications sector to share intelligence and discuss the People's Republic of China's significant cyber espionage campaign targeting the sector. The meeting was an opportunity to hear from the sector executives on how the U.S. government can partner with with and support the private sector on hardening against sophisticated nation-state attacks. Today's meeting reflects the ongoing efforts by the Biden-Harris administration to engage with executives across critical infrastructure sectors. So, okay, so this is just information that we're getting information to be able to protect. That's the story. Also today, President Biden spoke with the president of France, Macron, on a number of global bilateral matters. They reviewed developments in Ukraine as well as in the Middle East, to include efforts to secure a ceasefire deal in Lebanon that will allow residents on both sides of the Blue Line, which is the southern border of Israel with Lebanon, right, to return safely to their homes. They committed to remain in close consultation directly and through their national security teams. Then President Biden sent a letter, yet another letter, to Speaker Johnson, saying, quote, with the Congress now back in session, I write to request urgently needed emergency funding to provide for an expeditious and meaningful federal response to Hurricanes Helene and Milton and other national disasters. So again, he's reminding Speaker Johnson to put the money where the mouth is, right? Because he stated that he will be allocating more money for FEMA when Congress is back. Now Congress is back. So where is the money, honey? That's the situation. And then Pete Buttigieg urged Congress, quote, it is urgent that Congress acts to provide supplemental funding to support communities across the country recovering from disasters. So he's on it, and certainly Department of Transportation has to, fix the roads and everything that was damaged as a result of Hurricane Helene and Milton. So that just makes more sense. And then let's get now to the Trump nominees, which sort of like came in the 20-minute, sort of dance from Mar-a-Lago tonight. I guess he wants everybody to talk about him, which I guess mainstream media already does. So what's the point? Anyway, first this morning, Judge Merchan took Trump's sentencing date off the calendar while the parties briefed Trump's motion. While the parties brief Trump's motion to dismiss the case and vacate the conviction. So it's a sad day for the rule of law. Now, we need to understand that the felonies are not going anywhere, but he did issue the statement where he stated that the DA maintains the conviction is proper, but the date is being delayed, and there is no date put in motion. And certainly the entire discussion is about sentencing Trump once he is out of office, so after the 4 years. All I can say, if it were any one of us, it would be very different. Now, Melania Trump, who is not planning to go to DC or do anything First Lady related like tasks, she named today her loyalist, Haley Harrison, as chief of staff. Now, Haley Harrison served as her, right hand at the White House during the previous term. And then she moved to Mar-a-Lago. She married a low-grade staffer, Trump staffer, White House staffer from the West Wing. And so they all moved to Mar-a-Lago. She continued to serve Melania Trump. What is interesting is that she's named as aide number 1 in the special counsel Jack Smith federal indictment. So indictment includes text exchanges between her and another aide named Molly Michael, who is the aide number 2 in that indictment. So they were both discussing the movement of boxes belonging to Trump, those with secret documents with classified information, to the bathrooms of Mar-a-Lago. And so the exchanges where Michael said, there's still a little room in the shower where his other stuff is. Is it only his papers he cares about? And then Michael, who no longer works for Trump, responded, there is some other stuff in there that are not papers. Could that go to storage, or does he want everything in there in the property? So Melania issued a whole statement naming that, Haley Harrison as her chief of staff, saying This become very interesting, right? This, I don't have internet issues. I have my router right here and I'm looking at it. I'm being kicked off. Before it was just YouTube. Now I'm being kicked off X and YouTube at the same time, but at different times. Like, very interesting. I am back. I know it's not technical difficulties, Vivian. Yeah, I know when my router is back or is not working, malfunctioning. We had it replaced and all that kind of stuff before. This is not it. This is something like the label comes from YouTube. It kicks it off, or Axe does the same thing, and then they kind of like exchange each other. Very interesting. Anyway, on this note, so we're done discussing the not, I guess, Mar-a-Lago based chief of staff for Melania Trump, First Lady. Now, another story is Gates out, Bondi in. I reported on that this morning. Bondi is, Pam Bondi is the Trump's nominee for Attorney General. Certainly, she is an easier nominee to get approved by the Senate. And she not just helped Trump to dismiss the inquiry or the charges regarding to Trump's university, and she got 25 grand in return for that. But also it turns out she is the sister of the lawyer on Elon Musk's team that defends his cases against or defends the cases that are kicked off or started by the DOJ. So there you go. Literally a sister of somebody who defends Elon Musk against the DOJ will be headlining DOJ. So an interesting thing. You didn't disappear, just audio phased out. Anyway, yeah, and that's very interesting because the audio goes away, right? Because that's what I know from Modem situation. Entire thing blacks out, and here's just very interesting. But anyway, that's why the app is in the works, and we're going to have our own thing, and we stick to that. Okay, so in terms of Bondi, she certainly supports Trump's idea to go after anybody and everybody who did investigate him. And so here's a video in support of that, where last year she stated that prosecutors will be prosecuted and investigators will be investigated. So take a look, and if you haven't put the face to a name first, that's is Pam Bondi.
Something else that's going to happen, Sean, is when Republicans take back the White House, and we will be back in there in 18 months or less, you know what's going to happen? The Department of Justice, the prosecutors will be prosecuted, the bad ones. The investigators will be investigated, because the deep state, last term for President Trump, they were hiding in the shadows, but now they have a spotlight on them, and they can all be investigated, and the House needs to be cleaned out, because now we know who most of them are. There's a record of it, and we can clean house next term, and that's what has to happen.
Now, it was also reported by the Washington Post today that Trump is planning to assemble investigative teams within the Justice Department to hunt for evidence. Believe me, it's incredible. For evidence in battleground states that fraud tainted in the 2020 election. So that was reported today by Washington Post. So I guess he's still sour about 2020 election, but then this election, it's no fraud because he won, right? Then we're not investigating anything. although we had fake bomb threats, although we had the Starlink situation, but nobody's investigating it. We're just recounting what? Tiny races, right? The Senate races, the House races, for instance, in Pennsylvania. But what about other states? And why did Musk know the outcome 4 hours before it was announced and he went to bed? And what type of app did he create? And why was Polymarket and the apartment of that founder raided in Manhattan? So all of those questions, I'm not saying they would change the outcome, but I would love to see that investigated so we would have answers. That's just part of the system, right? That we hope works. Now, CNN also confirmed that Tulsi Gabbard, this one, that she was placed on the TSA Quiet Skies watch list, triggered by her overseas travel patterns and foreign connections. So, and this is somebody to become, if confirmed by the Senate, the director of intelligence. Also, when it comes to Gates, he gave an interview today saying, quote, "I'm still going to be in the fight, but it'll be from a new perch. I do not intend to join the 119th Congress." So again, his seat is most likely to be replaced by what's her face, Trump, Laura Trump, the daughter-in-law of the president-elect. And Matt Gaetz probably will get another job in the administration, which will not be the head of DOJ, but something different. Now, and so let's quickly review some latest nominees that Trump announced tonight. He nominated hedge fund veteran Scott Bessent as Treasury Secretary. If I mispronounce his name, excuse me, I never heard of him. So hedge fund mogul Scott Bessent, a pro-tariff Wall Street veteran and former colleague of Democratic mega donor George Soros, has been nominated by Donald Trump to serve as Treasury Secretary. Bessent's nomination comes amid a high-profile power struggle for the position and signals Trump's commitment to reshaping U.S. economy policy. Now, Elon Musk has been heavily working to get Lutnick nominated for this position. Lutnick was not really much in favor of causing those tariffs and imposing tariffs on China specifically. To recall, they want overall tariffs of 20% and then China 40%. Now, this guy, Bessent, he is very much anti-China. And so here's some quick key facts about him. So on Friday, Trump described Bessent today as someone who will support my policies that will drive U.S. competitiveness and stop unfair trade imbalances. So background on Bessent, he's 62, South Carolina native and Yale graduate who founded the hedge fund Key Square Management. And then he worked for Soros from 1991 to 2000 and from 2011 to 2015, so pretty recent. Now, political connections, a key economic advisor to Trump. He donated $3 million to Trump and other Republican causes this cycle. So he was a donor of Trump in this election cycle. Praising Trump as a very sophisticated on economic policy while criticizing Vice President Harris as economic illiterate. And you know, let's just hold on here. Goldman Sachs, all other, right, reputable institutions and economic professionals and very recognized leaders when it comes to economy and policy have spoken that the tariffs will cost every single person, right? It's sort of a federal tax that is being imposed. Then I said that, look, if he wants to, meaning Trump, if he wants to scratch the federal income tax, in order to replace that, we need to impose tariffs of at least 69.9%, meaning every single thing will go up almost 70%. Now, yesterday, then Bloomberg has reported that if we were to impose those flat tariffs of 20% and then 40% on Chinese products, our economy will only last to 2026. Because when it comes to economy, we're not going to feel it right away, because whatever you put in motion, this will be felt in about a year or two. right? Now, when they scratch Medicare and Medicaid, yes, given that the news cycle is beginning in January, that might be felt, but might be felt sooner. But altogether, it's not going to be immediate. So, we will be riding the Biden economy for a little bit, which is sort of good news. So to quote or to refer to Professor Snyder, whose video I showed you earlier this week, where he said, and put it also in your newsletter, where he said that what the Democrats can do is to prohibit the momentum, by having legal questions, by having inquiries into nominees and then into their actions, by not just suing, but having investigations as to where those decisions are coming from, who is behind them, and who's profiting. So not allowing to build the momentum where everything is at ease and all the opposing parties are, shocked and stressed into inaction and obedience, because that is something that would be very difficult to overcome, at least in this decade, because to reverse that takes more time than to cause the damage. So now, Lindsey Graham, of course, right away spoke about the outstanding Treasury Secretary pick. But then, in terms of pro-tariff stance in the recent Fox News column, Bessent defended Trump's tariffs, calling them a negotiating tool and dismissing concerns about their inflationary effects. So, okay, next nominee is the Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer as Secretary of Labor. Now, in short, the deep dives are it's not deep, but it's details in a very short, almost like bullet point manner. All of that is in your newsletter. So if you want to dive in and read calmly, please do you. And there's also other actual news about Europe and NATO and Biden and everything. Okay, so it's not just this, for sure. But in short, this candidate was heavily advocated by the Teamsters, specifically by the leader of the Teamsters union, and as well as other unions as well. So, for instance, the Teamsters spokesperson told Politico today, "We think she would be an excellent choice." American Federation of Teachers President Randy Weingarten took to X, calling the nomination a significant appointment. And now why? Because she was one out of 3 Republicans supporting the PRO Act, right? That's the Protecting the Right to Organize Act. And so as pro-union folks really support this, those who are pro-choice in this case are saying that this could be weaponized as something to push people to join unions, right? So, for instance, here, what this PRO Act would do is ending right-to-work laws. The PRO Act would nullify right-to-work laws in 27 states, removing workers' ability to opt out of paying union dues if they feel the union does not represent their interest. Then also it could lead to mandatory union membership. Workers could be compelled to join unions to keep their jobs, even if they disagree with union policies and practices. And so she promised to, bring that act into motion and, satisfy those who pretty much advocated for her. So that is why we're hearing very positive, feedback from the pro-union folks, or actually union members. Not many comments today. Okay, hey Jay, hello. I thought Rubio's seat was singer-songstress Laura. Yeah, well, it will be somebody from the Trump's team, and so they're trying to decide if she goes instead of Rubio or whatever. I would say because they're pushing Gates to get out, it should be somebody who is, they should have somebody to replace him. I highly doubt that they would just leave it to the GOP to nominate somebody or to leave, whoever. So let's see. But good point. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Okay. Next nominee this is like the craziest thing. So Russell Vought, right? Trump nominated him to lead the Office of Management and Budget. He led that same office during the first term of Trump. that's the guy, the very prominent figure behind Project 2025. Now, this nomination raises concerns about potential resurgence of similar accusations because he was accused during the first term of violating federal laws and withholding money from states in order to push them to do whatever Trump wanted them to do, especially during COVID. So that's sort of the tricky part here. Now, since leaving the White House in 2021, Watt has become a vocal advocate for aggressive fiscal cuts. And so his think tank, which is called the Center for Renewing America, has championed radical budget cuts. And that is what was written in this Project 2025. So here are the 4 main points. $2 trillion cuts to Medicaid, $600 billion in cuts for the Affordable Care Act, $400 billion in cuts to food stamps, and substantial reductions to educational subsidies and federal agencies like the state and labor departments. Now, in February 2023, the Washington Post reported that Watt's think tank pushed for these extreme cuts, positioning him as a key influence on MAGA Republicans in Congress. His return to OMB, a position with significant budgetary authority, is seen as a potential catalyst for Trump's aggressive budgetary overhaul. So, but you might remember him from this. Remember, there were the incognito or undercover journalists from Great Britain who came to this. It was like a seminar or conference for the Heritage Foundation to talk more about Project 2025 and to recruit supporters. And so they went there and they saw Vaughn. Let's see the beginning of it. You will remember his face. And I posted a link to the entire, it's like a 10-minute video of them recording the interview with him, pretending to be supporters. And so then he shares what he has in mind. So let me share this beginning of their video. It's their content, so I don't want to steal and download anything. So let's take a look. Okay, here we go. All right, let me press play.
2 undercover reporters posing as donors are about to meet one of the key architects of Project 2025, the radical plan for Trump's second term, in a hotel suite rigged with hidden cameras.
Nice to meet you.
Would you like coffee or something?
I'd love coffee. Yeah.
Great.
Meet Russ Vought.
Russell Vought, the former director of the Office of Management and Budget.
He's been called the most dangerous MAGA diehard you've never heard of.
I am opposed to the Department of Education because I think it's the Department of Critical Race Theory.
The Russ Vought were comrades in arms.
Formerly a cabinet member and chief lieutenant in the first Trump admin,
I want to thank Russ for doing an incredible job.
he now runs a group called Center for Renewing America.
An organization that I helped turn into the Death Star that is accomplishing all the debates that you are reading about. I think you have to rehabilitate Christian nationalism. You have the largest deportation in history, block funding for Planned Parenthood. I want to be the person that crushes the deep state.
Vought is
So you can watch it. I don't want to scare you more. You can watch it if you want, the full video in your newsletter. It's right there, so you can tap and watch and share and whatnot. So, and these guys did such a tremendous job, and they really risked their lives, not to understate this, this job. And so I don't want to download any videos. Please go and click like and share, subscribe. Let's give them the recognition they deserve. Also, who was announced today is for the Surgeon General, Dr. Jeanette Nesheiwat, I think. It's the Fox News health contributor. She believes in vitamins and prayers. That's it. No shame whatsoever. Yeah, that's like, I'm stunned. I'm honestly, Jay, I feel you. I'm stunned. I'm just, and then whoever I complain to, they say, why are you complaining? People voted for it. And I'm like, yeah, but I still want to voice. So in short, here's the cabinet. And let's see if you guess the common factor, denominator here. So Musk, richest man in the world, and billionaire Vivek Ramaswamy. I didn't know he was a billionaire. But anyway, so this is outside the government overseeing whatever authority. But then Trump's cabinet, Treasury Secretary, billionaire hedge fund manager Scott Bessent, Education Secretary, wrestling billionaire Linda McMahon, Commerce Secretary, Wall Street billionaire Howard Lutnick, Agriculture Secretary, billionaire mega donor Kelly Loeffler, Interior Secretary, billionaire Doug Burgum, Energy Secretary, billionaire mega donor and fossil fuel executive Chris Wright, and Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services multimillionaire TV personality Dr. Oz. So he's the poorest guy in that team. Okay, now to cleanse the palate, here's what former President Bill Clinton said on all those nominees. Take a look.
He's interested in people who are loyal to him 100% of the time, no matter what the issue, no matter what the facts, no matter who gets hurt. He wants people who just say yes and then get after it first. Second, he believes that his supporters have no confidence whatever in the federal government. And Lord knows he's done everything he could to destroy that confidence.
Yeah, and so then he urged Democrats to fight against it and do it legally. And so, the good news is that yesterday I shared 3 videos of really powerful women who are standing up and standing out and saying what's on all our minds and hearts. This is really the hope for the Congress and the Senate, not the old broads who are there to just plant their roots into the seats and never move and just be yes men and women just to maintain their position, or those journalists who will flip and dance according to this new accordion because they want to, again, keep their jobs and write a book afterwards. So my bet is on independent journalists who are operating in online spheres. If you can support those independents, whether with subscriptions, but also likes and shares and, just tap it costs nothing, but support independent journalism, because that's where you will find the actual news, and I'm tooting my horn, but also others, fabulous, some few independents, because the online sphere is where you will be able to say something because it's not falling under the jurisdiction of FCC. Broadcast, MSNBC is for sale. Musk already discusses about buying it. CNN is for sale. What's his face? I have his name in my head, but I can't. The gray hair guy who was in jail came out, the pro-Trump thing. Anyway, he said that he wants to buy. So the point being is independence online, that's where the information is. So if you can just, support. Peter, which one? I still can't. Yeah. Anyway, it's like a quiz. Anyway, it's a long day, long week, and I'm honestly not in the best of moods because I had to write all of this and I don't really like it. Now, let's talk about Ukraine and Russia, because I made a mistake to turn on ABC and NBC thinking, those are good channels, to hear about escalation, major escalation, World War III, Biden causes World War III. Yesterday, somebody whom I really see as a friend started with, why do you think Biden did not allow Zelensky to strike deep inside Russia? But now when Trump comes in, he starts the World War III for Trump to dig out. And I'm like, that's an interesting way to phrase it. And then I realized this person watches CNN. And that's what CNN told this person. So I'm thinking, okay, well, let's hold off the horses here. So yes, yesterday, and I reported, Russia hit Dnipro, which is a city. Since Soviet times, it's a hub for military production. So there are production facilities that are supporting military. They were doing, in the Soviet times, they were doing the missiles that Russia is using right now. Now, if they're producing drones or other missiles, we don't know because Zelensky's team is not disclosing it, which is a good news, right? Then this morning, I shared it in the morning news. Russia issued a statement that they're about to hit what they call NATO base, which is not a NATO base. Ukraine is not in NATO, has never been in the NATO, so there's no NATO bases. But they wanted to hit the facility with the F-16s, which is close to the border with Poland. So this is near Lviv in Ukraine. They haven't done it. Now, they always operate when it's dark, so it might be this upcoming night. So who knows? But factually, yes, they did hit Dnipro with one first it was intercontinental ballistic missile. Then it was, some people say it was a mid-range. But again, they did hit that. They call this thing Oreshnik. And so they were talking about Hazel, right? And so they're talking about this missile, and it hit it, blah, 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 and it's such a big escalation, right? Then they also launched a second one that malfunctioned and landed somewhere. Where did it land? Let me see. It landed somewhere in south central Ukraine, no longer appearing on radar. So they did those two hits, right? Now, today, Russian propaganda channel RT, that is still somehow available in the stratosphere, they posted this video sharing how those ICBMs, right, this Oreshnik, all that kind of stuff, can fly to different cities across Europe. Now, the version Oreshnik, the Hazel, is the one that does not have nukes on it. Now, another version, which is called Kedar, is another type of nut. It's nuts. They're nuts. That is something that would have nukes on it. So it's the same ICBM, just with nuclear and without the nuclear weapons on them, right? And so they shared how far those things can fly. Take a look. So see Russian Federation, and then they're launching it, and it can fly to Berlin, Warsaw, Paris, and London, right? So Poland, Germany, France, and the UK would be sort of hidden, and they say 12 minutes to Warsaw, 15 minutes to Berlin, 20 minutes to Paris, and 20 minutes to London, right? Which sort of, this thing was flying to Ukraine for 15 minutes. I'm not sure why NATO does not to take those things down. Yes, because the Russians did warn the US. The Russians did warn NATO pretty much about it. Then US did warn Ukraine about this, right? Before it did hit Dnipro. Hence, the US embassy was closed that day in Kiev. Now, my question is why NATO does not take this down, because add 1 minute to this flight, and this would be the NATO zone, right? It's 15 minutes was Ukraine. And what if it's 16 minutes? What if it's 20 minutes? So how do you can trust Russians where this thing is programmed to go? That is my question here, because we're playing with some interesting facts. Now, what does come out though, and this is an interesting thing, that Kirill Budanov, that's the guy who never smiles, which is the head of Ukrainian intelligence. He gave an interview today, and it's in Ukrainian, so I have a readout for you. He commented on Russia's recent missile use, particularly this Kedar system, which, again, Oreshnik is the one without the nukes, Kedar is with the nukes. And he's actually revealed that those things were prototypes. In fact, Russia is believed to have only produced 2 prototypes of those long-range ballistic missiles. One that hit Dnipro, and the other one that I just told you about that disappeared. So they're having 2 prototypes, according to Ukrainian intelligence. And the use of these missiles in Ukraine suggests desperation, with Budanov stating that it demonstrates that Russians have lost their minds. Now imagine you have prototypes, only 2, and you hitting them at once. Like, that's your reaction on ATACMS? Remember when Ukraine used ATACMS to hit inside Russia? But then also around 10 Storm Shadows, right? The British equivalent of long-range missiles to hit that, the bunker, right? The communication hub near Kursk, where the North Korean military leaders were and whatnot, right? So today, Russia actually admitted that Ukrainian strike on Russian command center in Kursk reportedly killed Russian and North Korean officers. So they were hit by air-launched Storm Shadows, about 10 of them. I showed you videos. They were detonating like one after another. And so the facts are 18 Russian officers were killed, including a senior commander. 3 North Korean officers killed, alongside injuries to one of North Korea's most senior generals, and dozen additional soldiers and officers were wounded. That is what, again, Russia reports from that bunker. Now, it could be way worse, but again, at least they're reporting or admitting something. Yesterday, they were on a hot mic, so which led to them admitting this ICBM launch. But, today they're admitting this. Now, there are 2 interviews that Zelensky gave. So first, the one that I want to show you is that Zelensky on Russia using the ICBM in Ukraine. And he says, quote, when a country starts using other nations, not only as targets for terror, but also as testing grounds for its new missiles through acts of terror, it's undoubtedly an international crime. So take a look at this interview. Now everything is all around. Okay, here we go.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці.
One thing, you got to read the subtitles. Another one is in English. This one, please read the subtitle.
Бажаю здоров'я, шановні українці, українки. Сьогодні оприлюднений перший список осіб, які позбавлені державних нагород України та спеціальних звань. Всі вони обрали підтримку злочинної війни проти України та й просто втратили гідність. Навіть прізвища їхні називати не хочеться, і вже ніколи їх не буде тут, в Україні, тож і всі зв'язки їх з Україною ми приберемо. Служба безпеки України готує нові пропозиції щодо таких санкцій. Друге. Сьогодні встановлено вже більше деталей щодо нової ракети, якою Росія ударила по Дніпру. Ми дамо всі деталі журналістам і міжнародним медіа. Світ має знати правду та усвідомлювати, що єдиний, хто не хоче миру, це Росія. Саме для того Росії потрібні ескалації. Я вдячний всім партнерам, які вже відреагували на цей черговий приступ російського божевілля, але й окрім слів треба діяти. І, зокрема, за моїм завданням, міністр оборони України вже проводить зустрічі з нашими партнерами щодо нових систем ППО. Саме таких систем, які здатні захистити життя від нових ризиків. Коли хтось починає використовувати інші країни, вже навіть не тільки для терору, але й для випробування своїх нових ракет через терор, то це точно міжнародний злочин.
So, you see, if you start, not just hitting the civilians, but now you're trying out new weapons on that. My question is, how much is Iran involved in this and how much is China involved in this? Because as we know, they're openly supporting Russia in this brutal invasion of southern Ukraine. Now, next video is Fox News interview, and Zelensky talked about using US-supplied ATACMS. Take a look.
Yes, I mean that. So you will see it.
Are there certain targets the Americans are encouraging you not to hit?
Yeah.
Чи є якісь цілі, які американці не бажають, щоб ми вражали?
Yeah, but really, Americans would not happy. It was some months ago. They would not happy because our targeting some energy targets, yes, on the territory of Russia. But I think that is not about just situation, because you saw Russia attacked yesterday, for example, 200, too much. One of the most difficult, this night's been in Ukraine, so it means that they understand only when you can answer. But we want peace, but you see how Putin wants peace. 120 rockets, missiles, including ballistic, and 95 drones, Iranian drones. That's why we need to answer. That's why long distance is very, very important. But what can I say? We didn't begin with it. We didn't begin.
Zelensky making a point here that the Russians continue to target Ukraine's energy infrastructure. And it comes, as I spoke earlier today with Mayor Klitschko here in Kyiv. He is urging civilians to stay close to those shelters. They do not believe Russia has stopped its attacks. Liz?
So, and here you go. You know, I'm wondering, his English is actually good, but he's literally at the front line. So, you know, yeah, it's difficult. Now, U.S. Helsinki Commission was interviewed by Nancy Pelosi from, you know, if anything. But this is what they said in terms of Putin's invasion and also the atrocities that he commits. Take a look. No, that's Putin.
One thing that we've been trying to do without success was to declare Russia a terrorist state so that the effect of the sanctions would be more forceful. I don't know if it's too late for that. Could you speak to that?
It's never too late, Madam Speaker, but I would also add to this, in light of everything that Russia has done, why are we still maintaining the Russia-NATO Founding Act? Why are we still pretending that what he's done has not effectively undone the entire framework post-Cold War? He has suffered no consequences. In 2008, he invaded Georgia. He got a slap on the wrist. Nord Stream 1 was completed. He invaded Crimea in 2014. Nord Stream 2 was started. Again, a slap on the wrist. He butchered Syria at Aleppo. He went into the Middle East as a great, deal maker in the region, controlling migration flows. He expected the same thing in Ukraine. And Madam Speaker, I tell you, had the Ukrainians not fought, we would probably have been in a horrible situation today. So they're fighting for the stability and security of Europe, the entire balance of power in the region. They're the best NATO allies that we don't have in the alliance, and I think that's something we should redress.
Indeed. And Skyman's Folly says, I don't trust Fox News. Me neither, but this is an interview. You literally heard Zelensky say things. So, not trusting their reporting. It's Zelensky speaking, and hence I'm representing the interview. Now, here's my question to you. This is going through entire European media market. The question is, Putin gave a speech, and he spoke about the ballistic missiles, and then World War III, yada, yada. Doesn't matter. Same story, different day. Now, is that a hologram or an AI thing? Because Putin, when he speaks, usually he's shaking, right? And his hands are constantly, he has to grab something because the hands are shaking. The idea was, or the notion was, that he has Parkinson's or not. So here is the fast-forwarded speech of Putin to see that his hands and arms actually not moving at all. So where are you landing with your opinion here? Take a look. So you see, like, his hands are steady, but then if you zoom in, his thigh is like, being pixelated. So it's like as if the hands were photoshopped, or some people say it's an AI version of Putin, but certainly he's not looking great at all. Yeah, and now they're cutting undersea communication. Yes. If you haven't read my newsletter this week, I started warning about it on 11/11. A week later, literally, they start cutting it. I did the deep dive into that, so you can check it out in the newsletter. I don't buy it. These evil guys, Putin, Trump, Erdogan, they live forever. No, I'm not saying he's dead or anything. I'm saying that it's a very interesting video. I grew up with him being president of Russia, so I know how he speaks and sits, and this is very different, So I'm not saying he is past. I'm just saying that they're trying to make him look better than he is. Anyway, so this is the British Army today. Coming up was something very interesting. This was late night. It was shared by Lieutenant General Rob Megowan. Take a listen.
If the British Army was asked to fight tonight, yes, it would fight tonight. And I don't think anybody in this room should be under any illusion that if the Russians invaded Eastern Europe tonight, then we would meet them in that fight. That would be the first point I'd make.
Thank you, General. Yeah, no, I'm absolutely certain that if the Russians invaded Eastern Europe, the British Army would be there. I'm a reserve officer, so I would probably be there with them.
And that's the Brits, they're not playing the game, and they're telling Putin where the cookie crumbles, where he crumbles. Now, I'm done. And for the soul, let's see the latest problem with the Cybertruck. And you're going to laugh. Take a look.
Cybertrucks are now being attacked by raccoons who are mistaking them for dumpsters. It looks like raccoons think the sleek, futuristic design of the Cybertruck makes it look like a high-tech trash can. A Cybertruck owner in Minnesota learned this the hard way when his $130,000 truck was attacked by raccoons during a camping trip. After securely storing food in the Cybertruck's lockable bed, labeled by Elon Musk as the Vault, the owner awoke to find the truck bed chewed to bits. However, the raccoons chewed through the cover, clearly believing the truck was a big dumpster. Photos online show the damage the raccoons caused as they tried to pry open the truck bed. It turns out that the Cybertruck's design, which resembles a dumpster, made it a target for these food-seeking animals. While the Cybertruck's marketing highlights its bulletproof features, there's no mention of being raccoon-proof. So if you're thinking of taking your Cybertruck camping, be prepared for the possibility of having to deal with some hungry raccoons.
Go raccoons! If the nature already, evaluates you, then, the Brits might be giving a message not only to Putin, but to Trump. Indeed, yeah. Like they fight even if U.S. stops funding the war. There is no way not to do that. U.S. in or U.S. out. Europe has to protect itself. It's not going to fall because Trump doesn't want to sponsor it. They will be fighting till the end. And I showed yesterday a video of Zelensky where he was asked what is going to happen if U.S. does not fund the war. He said, we're going to lose, but we're going to die losing. Like, doesn't matter. We will be fighting. And Europe will be fighting. And Germany, they don't want it, but they will be fighting. Now, Germany will be having an early election, most likely in January instead of end of September of next year. And so the one that is prospected to win is very much interested in giving Ukraine Taurus, those long-range capabilities and whatnot. So there are leaders that are emerging, and there is no way. I mean, if your back is against the wall, you have to do it, with Trump or without. Doesn't really matter. Maybe bears will join in too. Yes, to the Cybertruck, indeed. Yeah. It kind of looks like a dumpster fire. Whenever I see it on the streets, it's not many here, but whenever I see one, you got to laugh. There's not something where I would say, oh my God, I really, really want to have it. This is something I'm dreaming about. Never had that. Okay, guys, I know this one is a tough one. So again, the newsletter has actual news. You can read it. We're off for the weekend. I'm gonna just dedicate all the time to the app so we get it soon. And there we'll have the newsletters, the option to read it or tap and listen to it, the live streams morning and evening, and our discussions, our forums, and the instant updates, everything I post across social media. So again, please join the newsletter so you will get, I need your email to send you the invite. So honest.substack.com. Please keep reading because that really matters. And I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your time and your trust. And I just swear to do, whatever the best job I can do. And so if anything happens, God forbid, through the weekend where we need a quick update, I'll be live and I'll let you know. If you are on X, if you're on Blue Sky or Threads, join in. It's Honest Press, which you see right here on ONEST Press, PRESS. So if you left Twitter, we still can be in touch. All the instant updates are there. And by the way, if you are on those platforms, if you tap actual news, this is the hashtag that I always use for actual news. Sometimes I have sarcastic comments. Yes, but actual news, I always hashtag with the actual news hashtag. So if you tap on it, it will open all the updates. So you have all those actual news in your feed and you can read them one after another, but certainly newsletters the safest bet. Vivian says anyone in the Democrat leadership we should be lobbying. I'm not sure, but let me look into it. Thanks for the real news. Much appreciated. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you guys for the real comments. You don't know how much it means to me to be not alone here with this crazy crap, but you commenting, asking questions, adding information, that matters so much, because this is really not a happy place like today, diving into this nominees and realizing where we headed. Meanwhile, Biden deservingly thanks his supporters. And I'm like, it's two different worlds, So having you here really means a lot. Vivian says, need a spine leadership. They're clear-eyed about the future. So I would recommend supporting the three ladies yesterday. And I will post those. By the way, in yesterday's newsletter, the Thursday one has all the three videos of them. So I would tell you to, one of them is Jasmine Crockett, but also others. I think Lee was there, Summer Lee, and others. So tap and follow. And they are the leaders we certainly deserve. And they're standing out, and they're there, and they're not afraid or bowing and going to Mar-a-Lago. So, we see where everybody is. Got it. We can do that. Yes. So let's do that, and then we'll take it from there. So have a peaceful night. If you can, shut off the news for the weekend. You deserve a weekend. Next week are holidays. You're going to see your families, or maybe you decide to take off and not to be part of it, but it will be a week with emotions. Hopefully everybody's like-minded, but most likely we all have family members that are different. So take this weekend to relax and mentally, just breathe, go outside. I know it's winter, it's disgusting, at least here in New York, but we need fresh air and, just something different. Watch Netflix, watch some, stupid Christmas movie, and just, don't think about anything. Little late, but hello. Hey, Bonnie. Hello. We'll watch the rerun. Yes, please do. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a peaceful night. Thank you for being here. See you Monday, or God forbid something during the weekend. Okay. Thank you for being here. Have a good night.